Today we're going to make Christmas cookies. The type that I'm going to make today is a traditional sugar cookie recipe, which is the recipe that I used when my kids were growing up. One of the cookies that we made, where you frost them afterwards with red and green food coloring, so you have Christmas trees and bells and stars and all kinds of really fun festive cookie cutters. So that's the kind of cookies we're going to make today. I made them every year when my kids were little. They helped make them, they frosted them. So it's really fun for kids. This is like the main cookie that kids love to make because they get to frost them and color them, and so I'm really looking forward to showing you this recipe. It's a basic recipe. Super easy, super classic. You can use vanilla as a flavoring or lemon or almond. Today we're going to use vanilla. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. So the first thing we're going to do, like most cookie recipes, we're going to start with the butter and sugar. We're going to cream together 3/4 a cup of butter with a cup of sugar. And after we cream the butter and the sugar together, we're going to add 2 eggs. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to mix this together first. So once it's creamed about like this, you're going to add your vanilla or whatever flavoring you're using. Then you're going to add your 2 eggs one by one. And then once you get it kind of creamy, you're going to add 2½ cups of all-purpose flour gradually with, you have a teaspoon of salt. I usually put like a 1/2 teaspoon because I don't like extra salt. And you have a teaspoon of baking powder. And you just kind of blend all of this little by little until it's creamed in. Here's your dough. We have our cookie dough here. And then what we're going to do is flour the area here because we're going to roll it out to 1/8 of an inch thick. That's how thick you want the cookie dough to be rolled out to. And you need your oven to preheat to 400 degrees while you're doing this. So we're going to just need to put this all together. And you can like cut it in half after you get it all like in a consolidated state here. As soon as you get this all together, you can cut it in half and roll 1/2 of it at a time. It's a lot easier to do it that way. So like I said, we're going to roll this to 1/8 of an inch thick. We don't want the cookies too thick because they'll be doughy, and we don't want them too thin. So 1/8 an inch is just about what they should be. Right about what you want, right about here. Like you don't have to measure it, but you can kind of eyeball it and kind of see like the thickness. It's kind of right about the right thickness. So you want to have all your cookie cutters ready so that you want to start on the end, and you want to cut them right next to each other so you don't waste any dough. Of course, you're going to re-roll this, but you want these as close together as you can, just so you utilize all the dough, just like this. So, and you can use whatever kind of cookie cutters you want. I have, for Christmas cutters, I have Christmas trees, I have bells, and I have stars. So this is probably the part, this is the funnest part for the kids, as well as frosting them when they're done. They like to do this. So we're gonna just continue on and cut out all the cookies, and then I'll come back when we're done. Here are our first batch of cookies that we're going to put in the oven. They go in a 400 degree preheated oven for between 6 and 8 minutes, so they bake fairly fast. And this is all your dough. We're going to push it all back together and knead it together and roll them out again. So here's how your cookies look. They're not burnt, they're just a little brown on the edges. So you'll want to have them golden on the bottom, and that's how you'll know they're just right. So now we're going to cool them. We're going to make a frosting, and I'm going to show you how we make the icing for these cookies. So our frosting is going to have a 1/2 cup of butter, 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, a little tiny pinch of salt, and a teaspoon of vanilla, and we're going to blend all that together. So you're going to separate your frosting in 2 different bowls, and I just added some green for the Christmas trees in here. I'm out of red, so I'm going to do yellow for the second batch. You just do, I don't know, 3 or 4, however many you think, and just stir it around. So we're going to have yellow and green, and this is really creamy, whippy, because when you put everything together in the mixer, you're going to whip it for about 4 minutes so it's whipped looking. So it looks really creamy and whipped. So now we're going to get ready to frost our cookies. So here are a couple of batches of the cookies here. And we have the different buttercream frostings, 1 green and 1 yellow. And then I'm going to put some parchment paper down. We always use sprinkles over these when the kids were little, but I don't have any. So we don't have to use anything on top, just the icing. I do have some of these little pearl decorations that are made out of sugar. We could use those also. So this is how we frost them. You just get a little knife. You could even use a little spoon and just frost them like this. And like I said, I whipped this buttercream in the mixer for probably about 4 minutes, and it makes it real like creamy, extra creamy. So this is something that's been around for years, this recipe, and it does have a lot of wonderful memories, you know, with the kids, frosting these and making them every year. And they would decorate them, and they would help with the cookie cutters, you know, making them and putting the sprinkles and all kinds of different decorations on them. So like with this Christmas tree, what we could do is take out a couple of these little pearls. You could do it on all of them. It kind of like makes it like little decorations, like little ornaments on it. So there's all kinds of decorations to put on the candies, on the icing, lots of them. But this is what we have. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, making this with your grandkids or your kids. So these make about 4 dozen cookies. The whole recipe, if you use like a medium-sized cookie cutter, you can get about 4 dozen cookies from them. They came out very pretty and really good, delicious. If you want them to be like softer, when you bite into them and they're a softer cookie, you make them a little thicker, the dough, when you roll it out. And if you want them a little more crispy, then you just thin them out a little. So this is a wonderful cookie to make with your grandkids, your children, your family, anybody. It's a lot of fun. And they are really good. So let's give one of these a try. The buttercream frosting is delicious. I whip it for like 4 minutes after I blend everything together, and it's super creamy and real easy to make. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe and you have a Merry Christmas.